All right.
Well, I got to say, though, we're talking about Anna eating breakfast, but I kept thinking of Breakfast at Wimbledon, that they show for the Wimbledon all the time. And I was like, it's just like Breakfast at Wimbledon. It's brunch on Independent Bookstore Day with one more page.
Yes.
Well,
brunch time.
I had, so yesterday was my mother-in-law's 90th birthday.
Wow.
So we had birthday cake and we did a Zoom with her. And so I had birthday cake for breakfast, brunch.
Nice.
What kind of cake is the important question?
It is vanilla and it's got like all kinds of like rainbow sprinkles and stuff all over it.
Yes. Yes, that's good.
We did go get Bake Shop for Lily leaving and going back to school, which is always awesome. So I had my yesterday, more than my share.
Yeah, I got cupcakes from there for Joe's birthday.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Amanda always insists we get their brookies too, which are the brownie cookies, which are fantastic. So anyway, enough about our food.
What are they called?
They're called, I think it's brookies, brownie, like brownie and cookies.
Yeah.
And I'm going to just plug in my earphones just because I think maybe I'm contributing to the noise. So Amber, just go on.
That's better. That's surprisingly better.
Actually, I have the wrong one.
That was what I was thinking. If I was going to use mine, I have the wrong ones in here too. So happy Independent Bookstore Day.
Happy Indie Bookstore Day. It's so weird to be celebrating it at home, but
Right.
I have this memory of a couple of years ago. I had been to New York for, I think it was Siobhan Vivian's launch, a young adult author launch of a book that I had been really excited about. And I caught a 3 a.m. train out of Penn Station and came back for Indie Bookstore Day and took the train straight from Union Station at 7 o'clock in the morning to the bookstore. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to sit here for like an hour until the store opens. And then Eileen showed up like 15 minutes earlier and you're like, all right, we got to set up. And I was like, yes, ma'am. Okay. Sounds good. It was still a super fun day, but in every picture from that day, I'm like falling asleep standing up.
Well, you're never really good early, right?
Do what?
You're never really on early, right? I mean, you're like a late night.
I don't do early.
Yeah.
I don't like it. But it was still a really fun day. It was super fun. I think Wade made my Indie Bookstore Day baked goods for that day. It tasted a little weird.
That's right. That's one of the things we're missing this year, right? It's our bookseller bake-off.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody go get something from Bake Shop today.
Right.
Well, I was going to say there's always a lot of debate about what is eligible for Bookseller Bake Off because, as you may have gathered, it's highly competitive amongst staff.
Super competitive.
I do not bake, but my sister and her family do. So there was some debate about whether that was permissible. And I said, I'm the owner and I can establish those rules. So they can submit on my behalf.
There you go.
Well, hi to folks who are tuning in. Rebecca's joining us from home. I see. Jerry Harris. Hello.
Hi, Jerry.
Jerry.
Kelly Coiner said she was so glad to stumble on our brunch. So
can you hear me now, Kelly? I took out my earbuds. Perfect. Because I think that was the problem. That was a foiled attempt on my part. So thank you for letting me know that.
It's working. So should we talk about some books?
Yes.
I just have one question just kind of about our current state of affairs of quarantine. Have you guys changed how you're reading or what you're reading at all? I will say I feel like I'm reading a little bit. Well, I was reading less at the beginning. I just could not focus on a book at all. But I feel like now I'm reading more than my normal. But otherwise, I don't like the stuff I'm reading. I don't think has changed. Although anything that's like dystopian, I'm skipping right now. No wait for those.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know that I've changed what I'm reading either, and I'm not I'm not reading any more or any less. I might have a harder time remembering the plot lines of some of my mysteries, which can be kind of convoluted, but I still am reading my pretty high body count psychological terror mysteries. So and it's just they're a little bit closer to reality now than perhaps before. So that's a bit frightening.
I've been reading more nonfiction, oddly enough. I got started because I've been sitting in on these sales rep calls that they've been doing. Our regional association's been doing that, where they get a bunch of booksellers together and you get to listen to reps talk about the books that are coming out in the fall. So I had requested a book that was about a woman who was in group therapy called Group. And I read it, and it was a page turner for me. I don't know. And then I read a memoir about a guy who was whose parents were part of the Synanon cult back in the 70s.
Oh wow, yeah.
And about his growing up, and then everybody had said you should read. Maybe you should talk to someone. So I read that, and I just loved it.
That was great.
Really loved it. And so then this other book that I was talking about yesterday, the I don't know what I did with it. Oh, here it is. This one, Good Morning Monster, which is another one of a therapist talking about some of her, they're older cases of hers. And she actually talks about the whole process that she went through with each of these 5 people. And then she goes back at the end to check with them to make sure that they're okay with her. I mean, I'm sure she did that at the beginning rather than at the end, but in the book, she does it at the end. So anyway, I had this like 2 weeks where I was reading nothing but therapy books. And
You're getting your therapy in too?
Pardon?
That's how you were getting your therapy in too?
I guess so. So it was, but I mean, I really enjoyed all of it. Otherwise, I'm just kind of reading. I'm trying to read middle grade books in between the grown-up books that I want to read. But I also, if we talk about kids' books at all, I have a couple of great suggestions for kids' books too.
Great.
I think early on in the pandemic, when we were all just home, I mean, I was home all the time. Mystery books were like the thing that could keep me focused, because I was having a really hard time focusing on character or world building or anything that was too, I don't know, anything like that, but a really tight plot. I could just, it would hold my attention. So I read a lot of that. Beginning in June, I've really tried to focus on books by Black creators. So if I've had any of those come my way via the audio listening copies we get from Libro FM, I tended to prioritize those just a little bit. If I get anything from publicists, I tend to prioritize, I move through my stacks in somewhat of a chronological fashion, but I'm trying to prioritize Black creators and their stories, both the difficult stuff, the Black Lives Matter stuff, and just the fun, happy stuff. For the most part, I've been reading escapism, but I did read a book called The Down Days by Ilse Hugo, and it was about a pandemic in South Africa. It came out in May. Like, the prescience of it's so strange. It was inspired by a laughter epidemic that happened in the 60s in Tanganyika, I think is the name of the area that it took place in. But it was inspired by this laughter epidemic, which was a real thing. These girls were hysterical, and it grew and it spread to their village. But the story, it was weird, because at first I was like, is this going to upset me too much? But really, it was kind of strangely comforting, because I was having like an angry day, not a sad day. I was mad at people, not wearing masks or evidently caring about other people. I don't know. And the characters, like, their jobs had all changed because of the pandemic, and like this bit of the economy had gone away, so they had adjusted and taken up this, and people were wearing masks. And there was a joke about how some people on conference calls would wear suit jackets but not pants, and I was like, oh, we're literally hearing about that now. Like, I don't know. So I really enjoyed the down days, and all those other things. But yeah, I've been reading. It's sort of when it rains, it pours. Like, I'll go a couple of days without really reading, and then I'll just read like 300 pages in one sitting or something.
I was going to say, speaking of prescient, I read this book by Paul Tremblay, Survivor Song. And I read it as an arc, I think, back in maybe February. It just came out in July. And it is about a virus that spreads incredibly rapidly through saliva. So it's kind of a little bit like rabies, but like rabies that, can tear through a person's body in a day. But it talks all about lockdowns and about security, personal security, and about the medical community that continues to try to take care of people, even at great risk to themselves. And it's a kind of the story of a day of a woman who is due to deliver and gets bit by somebody, and she and her doctor neighbor have to make their way to the hospital. And it's just so much of it is is a little bit what we're living. In this particular book, it died out because it was so virulent. And we can only hope that it would die out here very quickly like that too. But speaking of reading something different, Anna, I know Rebecca has been reading mysteries. Not all the time, but much more than she had been reading before. So maybe there is something to that whole
Hi, Bear.
keeping focused. So, oh,
Buddy. No, I agree. I think there is something to it.
I actually was going to take 2 seconds, if I can, to discuss 2 books that are very relevant right now that are sadly still so relevant. But if you haven't ever read Timothy Snyder's book on tyranny, 20 Lessons from the 20th Century, it is a fantastic read. We sold a ton of them right after the election, and then recently, because it really talks about how the founding fathers tried to prevent us from the threat of tyranny, and what are some of the characteristics of totalitarianism that can lead to tyranny. So it's unfortunately a very relevant read. One of the things he talks about, which always sticks with me, is that one of the bedrocks of what makes the country work is our belief in our institutions, and that we can survive many things if we still have that. And I think that's definitely under attack. And One Person, No Vote, by Carol Anderson, How Voter Suppression is Destroying Our Democracy. It will upset you. It will make you angry. You will not be able to read long parts of it at a time because you're just going to be so overwhelmed. But it's a incredible book. So those 2 books I would recommend. They're not brand new, but just as relevant right now as they were before. So.
And I have one for kids that's coming out next month. It's called For Which We Stand, and it's how our government works and why it matters. And it's got a lot of a lot of different typefaces, and there's a lot of pictures in it. This isn't a finished copy of it, so for kids that are like probably 9 or 10 and up, it would be something that would be that every citizen should know this stuff. So
the adults could probably read it too. And
yes.
I was going to say, I was thinking, so should I get a copy now? Like,
Right.
for myself?
You can read it
Again.
before you give it to somebody.
Right.
The reading comprehension is a little down right now, so this sounds exactly my speed.
By the way, if anybody who's on here wants to ask a question or share what they've been reading, we're happy to, engage with you guys too, even in chat. If you're not on the screen. Well, I have not been reading anything very serious. I throw in a little nonfiction here and there, but I have not been going through them as fast as I do sometimes. So I think in my bookseller bio that Amanda and I finally taped last week, I talked about Truly Devious and all those books, which I have just discovered. Yeah. So I'll save everybody from that because you can watch it somewhere else. But but I've been loving those. But I was thinking about something that is coming out soon because I just got the ARC and brought it home. And my mom is staying with us for a few months. And my mom picked it up and I didn't see her for a day. So Kristen Hanna has a new book coming out in February.
Amazing.
And from what I read on the back, it sounds sort of like the Grapes of Wrath, but told like from a female perspective. My mom devoured it. She said she stayed up till 3:30 the other morning reading it, and then she finished it the next day. So I've only read one Kristen Hanna, and I loved The Nightingale. I haven't read any of her other work, but I'm looking forward to reading that one.
Yeah.
I haven't read The Nightingale, but I read the Great Alone. That was really good.
Well, Trish and I also both just read a book that's coming out on Tuesday.
Yes.
Penny, All the Devils Are Here, which is we have many, many pre-orders for, and we also have a couple of customers who are buying multiple copies. I guess they're giving them to their friends. Uh-oh. Somebody's dogs are unhappy.
That was mine a few minutes ago, and then they decided to come in with me, and now they're happily silent.
That was adorable. That was the cutest thing ever.
They too wish they had the Louise Penny book to read already.
Right.
Just a little jealous.
There's a ton of books coming up on Tuesday.
Yeah. Yes. What did Kyle call it yesterday on our State of the Store?
Doomsday
Doomsday Publishing Day, because so many books are released tomorrow or on Tuesday.
Although, I was adding to our staff picks for pre-orders yesterday. There's also a ton coming out on the 22nd of September. So I think this whole month may just be a crush of books.
So plan on staying home and reading a lot.
Not go anywhere. Just stay home and read one of the 90 young adult novels that are coming out in the month of September. Literally, I think Lauren Spieler, an agent / author that we've had in the store, counted, and it's 90. So
wow,
that's a whole thing.
Kelly wanted to know about the Louise Penny book. We do have a lot of copies on hand in the store, and it comes out this Tuesday. So it's set in Paris, as you may have gathered from the end of her previous book, since many of the characters moved there. So it's completely different setup than her previous book. So check it out. And as Rebecca reminded us, it was the release date of Doom.
Yes.
September 1st. So
I've got to read those Louise Penny books. I love mysteries, and I haven't gotten around to reading those. But I was going to quickly boost 2 books by Black creators that I have loved lately, if that's cool with you guys. One of them is not new. It is Rosewater by Tade Thompson. I guess you can see that. If I had been a planner, I would have had a stack of books beside me, but I woke up from a nightmare about 30 minutes ago, so about 10 minutes before I was supposed to be on this call. So we're doing great over here. Rosewater is about it's an alien sci-fi, but it's the strangest, most it's very character driven. Essentially, it's about an alien settlement that sort of crops up in the middle of Nigeria, and but it's enclosed, and a settlement of like people just sort of like donuts around it, and it's called Rosewater. And once a year, the alien settlement, like a pore opens in their like the membrane of their bubble, and people are healed, but in like weird, slightly slightly frightening ways. And also the presence of aliens on Earth has generated or like sort of awakened like sensibilities in some people, and they're able to access the thoughts of others. They're called sensitives, and they're employed by governments and things like that. So it's like one part sci-fi, one part spy novel. But also the character development is really good. The character at the beginning of the novel, the main character Caro, is a little bit. I certainly didn't approve of him. I didn't always like him either. By the end of the novel, I don't know. There's like this dog that he kind of neglects at the beginning of the book, and I was like, don't you dare be with that dog. Yeah, I know. Don't even listen, baby girl. And by the end of the book, his character has he's not a hero, but he's grown, and I really enjoyed that. And then also, my dear friend Christina Forrest had her sophomore novel, Now That I've Found You, come out. I believe it was this past Tuesday. And effectively, it's about a girl who's a young actress, and her grandmother is kind of an Elizabeth Taylor type. She's very much the old Hollywood glitterati. And she's sort of trying to find her place, and she makes one mistake, and she gets fired from this big movie that she had been contracted to do. And so she goes out to New York and advances this big award show, and she's gonna be with her grandmother at this big award show, and it's gonna do all this stuff for her image. And then her grandmother just disappears. And the very cute boy who has been sort of helping her grandmother out with her appointments and things, just happens to be there to help her, run all over New York City finding her. I listened to it in like one day, and it was just delightful. Delightful.
That sounds awesome.
It was so cute. Made me very happy.
I happened to glance this morning at my so I've been using Goodreads, even though it's owned by Amazon, since I looked this morning, since 2008. And I was looking at my TBR, 489 books. Wow. We're at 490 now. I add that one. I will never get through all of them.
Oh, no.
That's because there's just always more new ones, great ones coming out.
Always. Speaking of Tuesday, by the way, I brought, this is one of the perks of working at One More Page. Yesterday, these came in. So on Tuesday, the new Lady Pancake and Sir French Toast book comes out. I have a 7-year-old. I brought it home last night, and she squealed. So that's going to be the big hit in our house for next week's new releases.
Every time I look at that title, I get hungry.
Right.
Just saying.
Brunch.
Anyway, sorry, Amber. Now I'm thinking about pancakes and French toast.
Right.
Maybe ask Wade if he could start making those now.
Right. Joe actually volunteered to make waffles, but I turned him down.
Rebecca said I should not tell y'all how many books are on my Goodreads TBR.
Yeah. So I have one that a middle grade book that I'd like to boost. It just came out, I think, this month. It's a series, and it's this one is called Premeditated Myrtle, and it's it takes place in Victorian England, and Myrtle is she's a young girl. I can't remember exactly. I think she's 12, and she lives with her father and her governess. Her mother died, when she was younger, and it's during the times when girls were supposed to learn how to be little ladies and everything. And she's very, very interested in solving mysteries. And her father is a prosecutor in the court system, and she just is always wanting to do stuff. And unlike what you might expect, her governess is sort of with her on this. Her governess is very liberal minded. So it's just a really fun read. If you like the Alan Bradley, Flavia DeLuce books, it has some of that flavor, and there is a dead body in each book. I mean, it's not like, usually middle grade is not solving an actual murder, but it's not, there's nothing that would be, unless a kid was just horrified by the idea of a dead body. It's never somebody that's, a beloved character or anything like that. So
it could be for children who are, when they're adults, are going to read the kind of books I read.
yeah. No, I mean,
started.
that's what I really liked it. It's Dana wanted to know. It's Premeditated Myrtle, and it's by Elizabeth Bunce. And we can.
Usually when we do these things, I'm like adding links really fast to everything. I'm just not. I haven't had them yet, so I will go back in and add some links to the comments.
Yeah. Well, and I can send you the info in this one. But anyway, I just that was one that I got a copy of it through sitting in on these sales rep calls, and I heard it talked about twice on 2 different calls. So the second time I heard it talked about, I had already received a copy from the first time I heard it talked about. So I sat down and I actually finished the first one. They sent me the first one and the second one. So I immediately started reading the second one. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
Rebecca's right. We can make a page on the website that has everything we talk about today. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea. Yeah.
Christine, you're not alone. So we are still seeing Amanda a lot, and so she's still selling me books. her TBR isn't growing as fast, so she's starting to see Amanda as often.
He usually does that to my nephew Colin too. He usually gets quite a number of her recommendations.
It's not a day ending in Y if you don't go into the store and just see a massive stack of usually very thick fantasy books that just say Colin on the front.
Yeah. I don't know when he finds time to read all those, but he does. His library puts probably the public library to shame. He goes to their sales and buys tons of stuff from there too. So
Those are so fun. They're always, it's fun to like pick over, especially like the really old, like out of print stuff. I love to go and just, I don't know. And they've got the big, now I'm just sad. Never mind.
Well, Arlington Library,
Okay.
they have figured out a way. They are having little pop-up sales. So keep an eye on Friends of Arlington Library. Yeah. They did one, and I saw that they're prepping for the second one. Yeah. So,
Anna's already putting it on her phone to check it out.
I'm making a note of it.
Well, this is a book that Anna and I both read. In fact, actually, when the art came into the store, she snagged it before I did, and I was very unhappy. I happened to not be in the store at the time, and by the time I got there and saw it, it was I'd heard about it, it was gone. But then she did bring it in, so I got to read it. But it's Dijim Patrol on the Purple Line by Deepa Anapara. I should have practiced this name, Anapara. But it is set in a in a bustling town, but it's at the end of a subway line, I believe, right, Anna? And children start disappearing, and nobody seems to care a whole lot about it except for the parents and these kids who watch a lot of detective shows on TV, and they feel that they will undertake to find out what's happening to their classmates. But it's not one for middle schoolers.
No. That one, I mentioned the Down Days earlier. I think I was trying to think of what the Down Days reminded me of, and I think it was Gin Patrol and the Purple Line. It had that same sort of feel of like a rundown part of a large, like very large bustling city. And the questions of like, who cares when, a kid goes missing and the family is, doesn't have like economic power or, any sort of social position. And the answer is some people really do care, actually. And, it's just, that book was, it was so good. I really enjoyed it. Also, I think it was really funny. I was posting about it on Instagram a while back. And Rory Power, who is a young adult author, she's a New York Times bestseller. She wrote Wilder Girls and Burn Our Bodies Down, which are both like queer horror, speculative, kind of like strange and uneasy. And Rory messaged me and was like, "Oh, I went to MFA school with her." And it's always funny to hear like who knows who. And I was like, "Oh my goodness, you know her?" And she was like, "Yeah, she used to like be really nice about my weird YA, and I would read her incredible like Pulitzer potential literary." And I was like, "Rory, I think you're sorely underselling yourself here." New York Times bestseller. But it's funny how small the world is.
I mean, I love that actually about how connected the author community is with each other. And, you know, Sherry Harris is on here, and I had the pleasure of doing a book launch virtual event with her for her new book, From Beer to Eternity, in a new series. And it was just so much fun because, you know, in addition to the readers who love her, there were a lot of other local mystery authors, you know, on the call with us. And it was just so much fun. And I always love, you know, seeing the community and the tight bonds and the support that the authors provide to each other. So
we have that on our romance too.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So we have one, I'm going to pop this up here. The Nowhere Boy. Have you guys read The Nowhere Boy? Anybody?
Yes. Yeah. The author of that book is local, but she actually lived in Belgium for several years with her kids, and that's where she got the idea to write this book. They moved to Belgium right before there was a terrorist attack there.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so she ended up living through that, and you know, so yeah, I love that book too.
Is it a book for adult or for kids?
It's for kids.
Okay.
It's middle. I mean, adults would enjoy it, but it's intended as like a middle grade.
Nice.
I like to read middle grade.
Yeah, I know.
I have some great stories.
Yeah.
I just love that they are, you know, addressing what's going on, you know, in the world. That's not always nice, you know, but that we do need to know about, because as they say, reading helps people be more empathetic, and it also helps them learn about things that are different from themselves.
Yep.
So.
100%.
I created some questions so we could keep having the chat. Oh, I know another one. So any other ones that we're looking forward to that aren't out yet? And I was thinking, I'm so excited about this one. I think almost everybody in the store is a huge fan of Dolly Parton. And there's Sarah Smarsh has a new book, She Come By It Natural, that's about Dolly Parton, but it's also really about kind of the women who are overlooked in society, rural women, women in working poverty, who are both the subject of a lot of Dolly's songs and fans of Dolly Parton. So that one comes out next month, October 13th. And I'm looking forward to that one a lot.
There are two titles that I am super excited about. The first one, so I failed to assemble a stack of books for myself, like I said. The first one is Piranesi by Susanna Clark, which I know a lot of people are excited about. It is, Bloomsbury sent me an arc of this one, and I really had no idea what to expect. Here's the cover for that one. It's sort of strange and mythic looking. I was a huge fan of Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I toted that 600, 800, whatever page book around in my bag for weeks. It took me weeks to read it. But Piranesi is this funny little slim little thing. And it starts out, and it's this man's documentation of like how he survives in this great house that has like tides rolling through its basement and clouds in its upper levels. And it's you don't know what's going on for a long time. It's not a lengthy one. It's weird, but I really enjoyed it. And then another novel that I'm really excited about coming out is Fable by Adrienne Young. The cover is incredible, obviously. My friend who is a publicist at Macmillan sent me a copy when I made myself a nuisance to him. It is the most like ocean, like if we can't travel right now, really. We're not supposed to be traveling. This book is like wide open oceans and salt. This girl's father dumped her on an island when she was like 10. He was a very powerful merchant and he dumped her. She was 10 and it was an island full of like mutineers and pirates and like horrible people. And she just learned how to survive over like some period of time. And so she's kind of like a feral thing now. And this book is about her like finally being able to buy her passage off of the island and go back and like take what is hers. And it is salty, both in the sense of salt air and also like she takes no, but it's really wonderful. I think it's out in a couple of weeks. I forget what day exactly, but Fable, Adrienne Young, loved it. The sequel was already, like, the arc of the sequel was already out, and I'm like, yes, I will be reading this very soon.
I see Trish is getting ready to put something up, so I'll wait.
Oh, okay. Well, this is the book that I think this one actually comes out next month. This is a kid's book called Skunk and Badger. And it's written by Amy Timberlake and it's illustrated by John Klassen, who did I Want My Hat Back and a bunch of other ones that people are familiar with. And this is like, they describe it as Wallace and Gromit meet Frog and Toad.
Oh.
And it's a buddy story. And Badger lives in this brownstone and he's very serious and he works on his rock collection. And Skunk comes to stay, unbeknownst to Badger, and it's just about how they, work things out, and it's really delightful. And I think if I were in the store hand selling, I would hand sell this to everyone who was buying for a kid for Christmas. So that's my number one pick. But I have one other one I wanted to mention.
Does Skunk mess with the rock collection? I need to know.
What?
Does Skunk mess with the rock collection? Because I need to know.
Oh, I think you have to read it, Anna.
Fine. Now I have to know.
So this book, this is Everything Sad is Untrue, is sort of a middle grade, I would say sort of upper middle grade story about a boy. It's a sort of a memoir of a boy that moves from Iran to Oklahoma. Oh. And but it's a really imaginative one. It mixes in Persian mythology and yet there's also like he was a kid that was bullied in school because he was different, and it's just a remarkable book. This is a new imprint. Arthur Levine, who was with Scholastic for many years, has gone to. He started his own imprint called Levine Corrido, and this is one of the first books in that. His first group of books. So this one is coming out. It may be out already this month. So that's one to give kids a really look. When they talk about windows and mirrors, this is really a window into. But it's also a mirror for kids that are different and kids that get bullied. So that's the other one I would recommend.
Deb, if you're still with us, the two titles I recommended were Piranesi by Susanna Clark and Fable by Adrienne Young. Piranesi is the adult one and Fable is the young adult. Sorry if we missed you.
Well, we'll put it in the show notes, right?
Right.
I do not have an arc of the book that I wanted to talk about that I'm really looking forward to. But if you've ever read Brush, you'll recognize. This is her first book, Hyperbole and a Half. It came out in 2013, and this is one of these things where it was introduced to me by a customer, and I just, as you can see, have little tabs of paper in there because it just was so laugh out loud funny, but also really spoke to some of the difficulties of living with depression and the challenges of life and trying to deal with a world that doesn't understand what that is. And we have been hearing rumblings of a new book from her every year, and we're always so looking forward to it. Well, that time has come. She has a new book called Solutions and Other Problems that comes out at the end of September. So it isn't one that I think anybody got any advance copies of, so we don't know what it's looking like. But this is, I think people have heard that I have like a battle of the books on my shelves. I don't have very many bookshelves at all. I really don't. And so for me to keep something means something else has got to go. And this is one that will never leave my shelves. And I'm sure that Solutions and Other Problems will be another one of those. So I think it's September 22nd. So we have it on our pre-order page on the website, but you'll hear me continue to talk about it because my excitement level is very high.
Oh, wait, I thought of one more. Sorry, Eileen.
Okay.
Never mind. Keep talking.
No, that's good.
I just remembered. Sorry, I don't want to cut into your turn. I just remembered.
No, that's all right. That was my main one I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
I have a bunch I haven't read that I'm looking forward to reading, so I'm not going to talk about those.
So the problem is that this book by Beth O'Leary, it was supposed to come out in June, and I read it months and months ago, and then of course, the world sort of whatever. This book is called The Switch, and you can see how cute this cover is, and everything is backwards. It's called The Switch, and her first book, The Flat Share, did really well. I was sort of late to catch on to it because it wasn't quite marketed as romance, but we don't really have an evolved name for chick lit yet, so it's in fiction. But The Flat Share was her first book, and it was about a guy and a girl who are housemates who have never met because he works the night shift and is only in the house during the day, and she works during the day and sleeps in the house at night, but they leave each other like all these cute notes, and it's just adorable. But The Switch, so when I saw it was, coming about, I think I harassed a publicist, some poor woman, like months before ARCs were ever supposed to be available. But this book is about a young woman in London who has a panic attack during a corporate meeting. Like, she's supposed to be giving a presentation to some very high profile clients, and she falls apart. And her grandmother, who lives in a small town in Yorkshire, whose husband cheats on her. They've been married for like 40 years or 50 years or something. And her husband cheats. And this has been a couple of years in the past. But she finally decides at the start of the book that she's ready to get back out there. And so they switch places, and the grandmother comes to London and lives with, actually the grandmother's name is Eileen, and the granddaughter's name is Lena. It's Eileen and Lena, because they have the same name. Eileen comes and lives in Lena's flat with her flatmates, and experiences all their like millennial weirdness. And Lena goes and lives in Eileen's house and like takes over her village council jobs, and it was so wonderful for so many reasons. The romance was adorable. Really just, talking about the need for like balance in your life and, walking in someone else's shoes. It never condescended about Eileen's desire to like fall in love again, when I feel like a lot of novels maybe don't take seriously like the romantic like desires and concerns of women over, I don't know, like 27. It was beautiful. I cannot wait to see what else Beth O'Leary writes, but The Switch is out very soon.
And we're working on, we may have a virtual event with her in the next couple of weeks.
That's
I'm
where
so
I heard of it.
So I don't have a date announced yet, but keep an eye on it. I think we're gonna have one.
So I guess if she needed to be in conversation with someone, Anna might be the person.
I've been talking with Anna about that too.
Okay. Good.
Cool. Speaking of upcoming events and upcoming books.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely love Jess Walter's Beautiful Ruins, which is also a really good book if you haven't read it yet to read right now while you're wishing to travel. It's set in Italy, and it's just the way he described it, you almost feel like you're there. So we actually have Jess Walter for a virtual event on the day this comes out on October 27th with a local author, Kathleen McCleary, is going to be in conversation with him. So I'm really looking forward to this one, both the book and the event. And I kept going, oh, it's not till October. I'll wait to read it next month. So I do. So I loved your little like tabs in your book. But I love book darts, so I have my book darts all lined up and ready to go, so I can start reading this.
I have those now. I didn't have those. Well, this was still right soon after the store opened, so I wasn't up on it. But I have the book darts now. So
I love book darts.
Guys are so high tech. I just dog ear pages that I really like.
Oh no,
Anna. How'd you pass your bookseller test? Dog-earing pages. We didn't ask you that. We should have.
right?
No.
People comment. Do you dog ear?
Right.
It's your book. And I doodle notes in the margins sometimes. If I have thoughts.
I do that for nonfiction books sometimes, especially when they're for like the book club or for like On Tyranny or for Carol Anderson also wrote a book called White Rage, which that was came out before then. Came out before this book, and it is also a very intense read, very important book to read. I had the pleasure of meeting her at one of our bookseller festivals when she was talking about this book, but I had just read White Rage and expected to meet somebody who was very serious and just, intense. And I'm sure she is those things, but she also was just so warm. And we had just had the elections here in Virginia where we turned the house blue. And she knew about that. And she was like, you guys go, keep going. So, I mean, she was, in spite of the, difficult matter of her books, she remained a very, very positive person. So I'll also look for White Rage.
Awesome.
So, sorry, that was mine. But it's also dog-eared and written in Anna. That's where it came from. I wrote in that book to just highlight things that were just so egregious. So anyway, sorry, Amber.
Hey, speaking of some of the online events we were talking about, do you guys? So since it is Independent Bookstore Day, we actually do have an event coming up at 2:00 today that you can tune into. Amanda's going to kick that one off with Christina Perez and Romina Garber.
Yes.
Christina's going to be joining us from London and Romina from Miami. Christina's latest book just came out this week, so Bright Raven Skies. We're excited to talk with her, and Romina's book is
Lobosona.
Thank You, which I know Amanda's kind of obsessed with. So that's cute. But the organizers of Independent Bookstore Day actually have a full lineup starting at 1:00 today. They're going to do a whole series of online events that are kid and then YA, and then they're going to kind of get older as they go through the day. I know Miranda asked me if she wants to go to the one, and I had this up and now I don't. There's one at 1:00, the first one at 1:00. Oh, now I forgot where it is.
Is it the Lisa Brown one?
It's a drawing one.
Yes, the drawing one. Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
So I signed us up for that one, and then I'm looking forward to the one at the end of the day as well. So, what about you guys? Did you guys look at the schedule? Are you gonna tune into anything?
Yeah, I was looking at the one at the end of the day as well. The Lauren Groff, Emma Straub, and Tahari Jones.
Yeah,
Oh,
That looks good.
that's at 8:00 tonight.
Yeah.
I once had a conversation with Emma Straub without realizing who she was. I was at Bookstore Magic in Brooklyn, and I kept making jokes about how large my backpack was, and I was saying I was a teenage mutant ninja turtle, and she had on a cool kimono, and I was like, you could be my Master Splinter, and she was like, someone was like, oh, your books, and I was like, oh, you write books? She was like, yeah, sweetheart, I have a whole shelf of them, and I realized she was Emma Straub, and I wanted to, bury myself into the floor. Anyway, Emma Straub. It's probably going to be a great panel.
I'm looking forward to Jean Luen Yang's talk at 1:30. He's going to be talking about graphic novels, and Dragon Hoops is his graphic novel, but he has done just a wide variety of graphic novels. He's done some in the Avatar, The Last Airbender, Secret Codes, American Born Chinese. And I had the opportunity to hear him speak and to meet him a couple years ago when Fairfax County started their own Comic-Con. And they had him there as their keynote speaker. And it happened to be the year that he was the Library of Congress National Ambassador for Young People's Literature. And he just was so funny and so accessible with the kids, and talking about, where his ideas came from, and about, the genre of graphic novels, which, for a long time has kind of been this thing that nobody wanted their kids to read. And now, they're just such a wonderful entry point for reluctant readers, but also just for, looking at things, I think, in a different perspective. So anyway, I'm super excited to hear him again. And that's at 1:30.
I'm really excited. I know it's our event, but I love Christina Perez. Like, she is fantastic. Her Arthurian retelling and Romina Garber's Lobosona is, for those of you who are not familiar, it's an incredible, just the premise alone will make you want to read it. A girl who's crossing the border with her mother. They're undocumented. Her mother is captured by ICE. But the girl, I believe, finds out that she is a werewolf and goes to a magical boarding school. It's a lot of things are happening in this premise, and I'm articulating it really poorly, but the two of them in conversation is going to be just and also there's a conversation at 3:00 that I'm really excited about, that is Kat Cho, Rena Barron, and Rebecca Kim Wells, and it's a feminist YA fantasy panel, so pretty stoked for that.
Well, and the weather today is not conducive to being outside anyway. So I don't know that there's a better way you could spend your day than, checking out all these fantastic authors, which
I'm reading.
Yeah, and reading. I don't know what we have left of our Independent Bookstore Day merch, but if there's any candles left, I'm for sure getting one, because they smell wonderful. They smell like they're like sandalwood and other things, but I do want to tell you that is not what a bookstore smells like. Ours often smells like
paper and the chocolate we've been slowly.
I was just gonna say the chocolate.
Not that there's ever any left by the time I'm gone.
It's the I'm embarrassed to say that I have put on like 10 pounds.
Chocolate. You
unlike
know what?
Unlike Anna, who's walking 9 miles, I'm assuaging my stress with chocolate. So
Right.
Oh, I am the sugar. Look, every time I go into sign stock at One More Page, I sort of poke around to see what chocolate's open. I'm like, okay, what's been open? Because I'm not going to open anything. But if there's some M&Ms here, I'm going to
But you sometimes then you leave the empty bag, which is then proof. If you throw the bag away, we won't even remember what was there. So just throw it away.
I'm sorry.
No. It's just funny, because then we know you ate it. But you're going in on we've had you coming in a lot to sign stock, so it's very exciting.
Sneaky.
And everybody who's online, if the chocolate is making you hungry, you can buy that on the website. The temperatures are going to start dropping here pretty soon, so we can actually start mailing it again. We've kind of avoided mailing it for a little while. We didn't want it to melt.
Lake Champlain has these new, and I don't know, remember what they're called, but they look like tranquility bars because they're very, kind of have this very calming color schemes on the front. So we've ordered some of those. So we'll probably be sampling those on one of our, maybe we'll sample those with the lemonade. Maybe for Labor Day weekend. We'll start that. All right.
That's all I had, unless you guys want to share any other books or anybody has any questions for us. By the way, talking about the graphic novels reminded me about the event that we did a few weeks ago that I really hope more people will go see. So as we've been doing these online, by the way, I've been embedding all of the recordings of the events on the calendar pages themselves. So if you miss it, you can always go there and find them if you can't find them anywhere else. And there's my husband.
He's like, you're done now.
Yeah, exactly. But we did one a couple weeks ago about graphic memoirs with Malaka Gharib and Robin Ha. That was just really, it was such a great event. I'm going to link to it right now. But I hope more people go see that. Because they did their reading and it was on the screen. They put the pages that they were reading since it's graphic. It was really awesome.
Yeah.
I just have really surprisingly, I think, enjoyed the virtual events more than I thought I would, because in some respects they're very intimate. And you know, I wouldn't want to do them in place of, you know, in-person events, but I have, like I said, been surprisingly pleased that I enjoy them as much as I do. So, and it's great. I love being able to go back and look at some of the ones that I wasn't able to see or that I wasn't on. So, yeah. Sherry, it's great to see you too. Sherry, if you read or watch my bookseller bio, I held up your book as one of the books that I just read and really enjoyed, From Beer to Eternity, which is not like, just to let you guys know, it's not like my kind of it's a love. It's more cozy than that. So
Too funny.
Well, happy Independent Bookstore Day to everybody. Enjoy.
Yes,
Go watch great talks with wonderful authors. And yes, thank you, Amber, for putting this all together. Anna, for getting up out of your nightmare. Trish, for okay.
And thanks everybody for tuning in.
Bye.
Yes, thanks for getting up and watching us.
Hi guys, we miss you.
Bye.